Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Pash On Podcast. Let's get started with your host, Brian Pash.
Hi, this is Brian Pash, and welcome to another exciting podcast interview with automotive industry leaders. Today, we're going to be talking about something that can help dealerships move more metal right now, and that's a really relevant conversation as dealers are struggling to keep their turn rates at a pace that keeps them profitable and keeps that floor plan interest down. So we had to go to the experts, the people who are changing automotive retail. And that, of course, is Urban Science, Eric DeMont. He is the global product director for the company. And Eric, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Brian. Always happy to be here.
So I want to talk about this renewed awareness of efficiency and dealer sales process. I've heard people say, hey, COVID kind of ruined a lot of dealers because it was so easy to sell cars. We were selling cars at MSRP or over. Floor planning cost was near zero. Man, it was a pretty surreal time. Now, interest rates from floor planning are eroding profits. Certain brands have cars that aren't moving, and dealers are saying, man, what do I need to do to accelerate the close rates of my leads? So we have Sales Alert, Traffic Alert. We're going to talk about these today. But before we talk about the product solutions, as you look at the landscape and your singular focus on tier 3 dealers and helping them, what's your message to the dealers who are listening, who are looking for a trusted partner, someone who could really help them move the needle?
Look for partners that make you better. Look for partners that bring great data, great analytics, and easy to use solutions to help you be more efficient. When we think about all the kind of the influences in the industry right now, the fact that half the sales teams are new since COVID. When we think about more leads being generated, but it being harder to close leads because people are worried about affordability. Folks are worried about affordability, not only of the vehicle, but also of vehicle ownership in terms of service and insurance and other things. It's making them shop more. So the number of purchases, the number of leads that are consumer submitting has increased recently. It's actually 2.5 now, according to the latest research we have. And the number of brands are shopping, still shopping 2 brands, still visiting 2.5 dealers. It's more, as everyone knows, it's more competitive out there now. So what can you do from a data analytics tool perspective to make you more competitive in that environment when you know half your sales team still has a lot of going to do to get up to speed to be able to sell cars?
Well, and this is why I was really looking forward to having you down at the Digital Marketing Strategies Conference, because the products that we're talking about today, in my opinion, and I normally don't say this about any product because I don't like to spend dealers' money without their full buy-in. But to me, these 2 products we're talking about today are in the no-brainer category. And here's the context of that statement. Dealers have tremendous cost associated with lead follow-up. Speed to market is extremely important. And focusing on the best opportunities with those resources makes dealers more efficient. But we have some blind spots. Dealers are working leads 30, 60, even 90 days. In that time period, people have purchased cars from other dealers they don't know. And if they do purchase a car from another dealer, yet in the CRM they're an open lead, did they defect to a similar brand, or did they defect to something that the dealer doesn't sell? And those really are 2 different outcomes that we can get today, as you mentioned, your data and analytics. So I think the most focused one I want to hit on first is stop wasting time following up people who've already bought. So for the dealers who are not familiar with the product, give them an idea on how you can update their CRM so that they're not beating the dead horse.
Yeah, so I think everything starts with the data. As I mentioned earlier, everything starts with data and analytics. And so I'd be remiss if I didn't share the details around the data hub that Urban Science stewards for the industry.
Come on, that's great.
So the data hub is a collection of near real-time sales events for 95% of new vehicle sales and 98% of CPO vehicles. Near real time, what that means is like 95% of sales we capture within 3 days of the transaction.
Great.
We get that because the dealers obviously load up their sales in their DMS, sends it over to the OEM. The OEM turns around, batches it over to us, and we then we collect all that information and make it available for our solutions and for the benefit of the industry to power their processes.
Got it.
And so think about what that means. That's totally different than 90-day delayed registration data. It's totally different in that it's not modeled. It's totally different in that it's available at the individual level. So now that you have a data collection like that, you can do some pretty amazing things, including, as you mentioned, what we do within our SalesAlert tool, which is very simple. We take your CRM file, we integrate with your CRM via API or any other approved method that happens to be available from them. Everyone is different. Everyone has their own nuances, but we take that and put it into a standardized database. We then compare it to the Data Hub sales, and we simply identify the records, the leads that have already purchased elsewhere. Your dealers, I'm sure they're familiar with the CLM on when they follow up with the lead. Called, left message, called, left message. And you could see that for what?
Yes.
30 days, 60 days. It looks like we called, left message 45 times.
Yeah.
What's interesting,
and Eric, let's pause on that for a minute.
Yeah.
Dealers wonder why there's such high turnover in the BDC.
Right.
Let's think about it. Depending on which coaching strategy you follow, there are still people who are saying, look, the first day you're going to call 3 times. You're going to call in the morning, afternoon, and night. You're going to send 2 emails, and the next day you're going to do this, and the next day you do this. And then on week 1 is over, then you move to a different, and then the calls aren't being answered or the emails aren't being returned. And, once they move past a few weeks, there's a good chunk of those people who've already bought. And if you could stop people from getting frustrated, like, I'm trying to do what you asked me to do, boss, but people aren't responding. I mean, the people cost and the impact on their psyche about, is this job really for me? And the product is so reasonable. Eric, let's talk about, when I said it's a no-brainer, if a dealer wanted on a daily basis, I don't know if it's daily or weekly, you have to tell us, to keep their CRM updated, what type of cost would that be for the store?
$299 a month.
Okay. And how often does the process of bouncing up the leads against the sales hub, how often does that happen?
It happens nightly. So by 11 a.m. Pacific time each day, the prior night sales have been uploaded, matched, and then reported either in both our user interface, which is a very simple, easy to use report, as well as posted to your CRM if your CRM has the ability to receive updates.
Now, let's just pause there for a minute. We're not talking about something that's expensive, but it's all about maximizing the time of your sales professionals, your BDC agents. I mean, I hope everyone sees this, is that partnering with clean data, and I've written about this, Eric, recently, right? With the CDP projects and this data, and we're going to get to that, is the perfect complement to any CDP project. We're going to get to that. But keeping the workflow focused on people who haven't bought is absolutely makes sense. It's a blind spot the dealer doesn't have. Now let's shift to TrafficView. So the dealer's getting these updates and he's seeing or she's seeing leads drop off and marked as already purchased, already purchased, already purchased. The most logical question is that any general manager or dealer principal would ask is, am I losing it? Like if they're a Chevy store, am I losing it to the Chevy store down the street, or did they buy a Toyota? Let's talk about the insights, because there is some privacy concerns here, right? We're not showing the dealer Jane Smith and which dealer she bought, but you are going to show them whether it's same brand or a, other. So let's talk about that. What does that look like?
So actually, let's provide a little context here. Why is this so important? And many dealers don't know. The average industry defection rate right now for leads in your CRM, 18.5%. So that's double the close rate in most instances.
Yes.
So that means before you do all the accounting and training and everything else you're doing on a close one, you look at your defections and it's double that. It's almost 20% to a 10. And so we can then imagine the frustration that those individual salespeople have when they do the call left message. To your point, it's just soul sucking. And with TrafficView, the solution that you talked about, what we're able to do is take aggregated performance. So obviously, the SalesAlert has individual level lead defection information, but there's a lot of insights that can be gleaned from trends and other things that you can deduce from those aggregations. So simple one. If someone's selling 15 cars, wow, great job, right? I would, say that the analogy in baseball terms would be someone had 2 hits last night. But it's very different if they went 2 for 3 or 2 for 7.
Yes.
We don't have the denominator in this, in that how many strikeouts did they have?
Right.
How many times did they have an up that actually sold somewhere else? Until this product, the sales response was, that person never bought. They weren't in market.
Right. They were a tire kicker.
Tire kicker. But now, actually they bought, and you can start to look at your number of strikeouts, right? On the analogy, the number of strikeouts each salesperson has, the number of losses they have. Not to say that they're a terrible person, but hey, 3 for 10 gets you into the Hall of Fame, right? It's pretty good. But if you don't take that into account, if you don't incorporate that into your training process of knowing what their defection rates are and where they're losing, for all these salespeople that have joined post-COVID and have only taken orders, that's a tough gig to help them train, to help them understand how to sell, if you can't talk about probably the most instructional part, which is where they lost, what they can do differently.
That's right. And Eric, I think my thought process is, once you know where the majority of, or the 2 or 3 top places where people are defecting, then dealers can look at their website, look at their pricing, look at their follow-up. They can mystery shop, right? And I think that what is super important is that the cheese moves continually. So this month, there could be, defection to this one, but maybe then an OEM comes out with a great, leasing program or cash incentive program. And it's not that dealers aren't aware of the other offers in the market. They just have no idea if they're working. And so this would really also give them the insights. Hey, in your market, when this dealer offered this incentive, or with this OEM offered this incentive in your market, people responded in a big way. They don't have that data. Right. Which means it will also allow them to consider, hey, next month, we're going to have to do something. If the OEM doesn't do it, we're going to have to do something. I'm seeing that this is not static data. Okay, I'll use this for 3 months and stop. I think the whole TrafficView is an ongoing process to stay focused so you're not, ambushed by your competition.
Yeah, and so you mentioned market, and we've done some analysis recently, and while we weren't surprised per se, we were impressed with the level of correlation. And what I mean by that is we took a look at sales effectiveness for all of our dealers that are using either TrafficView or SalesAlert. And we overlaid that information with defection rates. And guess what? For the dealers that are sales effective, their defection rates were considerably lower than those dealers who were not sales effective. And if you're not sales effective, obviously you're not delivering against your full potential within the market. And so what do you do if you aren't at your potential? Defection insights help you understand by salesperson. I need to train Eric because he can't sell Explorers. He's selling Expeditions till the cows come home. But somehow, some reason, he doesn't resonate with the Explorer customer. Let's give him some training to do so.
Right.
You can also then look at it by lead type. It could be that some folks are great at closing the showroom lead, and then there are those special people in our hearts that are able to close an internet lead. If we can understand that by salesperson, we can route leads appropriately to the salesperson that is best for that vehicle or for that lead type. Let alone the marketing implications of being able to understand the geographies where you're obviously reaching leads from your marketing campaigns, but something's happening where you're not closing them. Maybe when a lead comes in from a particular geography, you need to get the general manager involved and have them touch a few of those consumers because something's happening there where they're getting outsold by another dealer in your market. And in fact, not only did we look at sales effectiveness, we looked at pump in. And guess what? Pump in and defection are highly correlated too.
Yep. So Eric, I'm thinking about something else. I haven't thought about it before, so this is going to be a new question. But I know that in some dealerships, due to pay plan incentives, sales associates, BDC people, they kind of mess with the CRM to make their closing rates look right. And it could be, this was a bad lead or, like this bad lead. And I've seen this. Right. When a lead comes into the CRM, before people start fudging numbers, you're getting this. So I would also assume that you're going to show, hey, these leads that were marked in your CRM as bad, they really bought. And I would have to imagine that there might be times where a couple of employees seem to be highly correlated with marking leads bad to make their pay plan be more rosy for them. And I think dealers just have to be aware that employees always work the pay plan. They always find a way to work the pay plan. And you have a multi-million-dollar investment tied up in your ability to sell to people who are submitting leads and who need a clean follow-up process. They just never had an independent partner to show them the other side of reality, which is what happened outside your walls. And that's why, again, both products, from my perspective, are table stakes. Dealers need to know, hey, stop pursuing these leads. They bought. I mean, we have the OEM RDR record, boom. And hey, if we're losing to a certain group of dealers frequently, what are they doing differently than us? And it could also be their sales process is more superior, or they have better follow-up technology. But wouldn't a dealer want to know these things, Eric?
Yeah, and in fact, what we see, Brian, is that not all the time, but in many times, when dealers start to analyze the data, they dig into the insights and they find these aha moments. A lot of those aha moments not are only about which salespeople or models or dealers they're losing to, but it's, I didn't have any defections last month. Well, why is that? because the CRM process, the logging process has been manipulated, and they're not entering all their ups.
That's right.
And so there's a good audit capability that emerges from the use of these tools to
Love
make
it.
sure that your processes are actually being implemented as you thought they were. And inevitably, what we see is that close rates and defection rates adjust over the first 3 months of a program as new emphasis is placed on those processes to make sure they're being followed.
Let's kick it up a notch here. More dealer groups are investigating CDPs. There's more companies coming to the market with CDPs. So now I want to talk to technology companies who should be partnering with Urban Science. And I want to talk to dealer groups who are investing in CDP. We've been comfortable with silos of data because that was the only thing we had to deal with. The DMS wasn't made for marketing, neither was the CRM. We didn't have a third piece of technology to unify the customer record. But dealers are allowing people in the DMS or in the CRM to pull out data, to do marketing, and yet the DMS is a cesspool of data, and the CRM is a manipulated set of data. And what I was thinking is, as dealer groups have a CDP with that unified customer record, and the CDPs are getting signals from the CRM. Okay, this person submitted a lead. Right. I love the fact that your platform could be used to update the CDP to also move people out of marketing audiences. This is the key that, when people think of SalesAlert or TrafficView, they're like, okay, these are sales process tools. But I see it now as more marketing is being driven from marketing automation platforms tied into a CDP. We can move someone who was in an active truck shopper audience and say, nope, we just got the data from Urban Science. They've purchased. Let's take them out of the acquisition audience, move them into service. Maybe we can get them, right? So there's another whole, is it right to say renaissance for Urban Science at tier 3 to be a high quality data partner to supplement and to keep the CDP up to date?
The uses of good data are almost endless. And we have amongst the highest quality data source there is, isn't that it's an RDR record.
Right.
And very, very infrequently, it happens very seldomly, but from time to time, but very high quality customer information on an RDR record.
Right.
So given that high quality data set and the fact that we have it available in a customer data warehouse and a DMP for media purposes, and we can get into that next. Absolutely. And we're feeding it for our own solutions. But anyone who is subscribes to either TrafficView or SalesAlert can call an API that would allow them to ingest all of the defections since the last time they called for their store.
Love it.
And we don't charge for the ingress. We don't charge for the API connection. We don't make you jump through hoops like other people do to be able to access that data. We think it's the dealer's data. It is their CRM record. We're informing them which leads are out of market. And that needs to go back into their customer data warehouse or their CDP, certainly their CRM, but to your point, that's a manipulated database. Yep. When it's into your CDP, now it can be used to not only inform your marketing activities, but also for those folks who are on more the analytics side, it can be used to inform your analytic and your modeling activities. And so we just had our dealer advisory board meeting last week. Half the folks there were in marketing, and all of the marketing folks were, they lean in when you talk about how the data set can be available to their CDP or their map, one and the same, potentially how it's configured within their tech stack, to use that to send a service message or a branding message to those consumers who already left market. Or you talked about lead quality. One of our newest products that's in beta right now not only looks at who's defected, but it now starts to look at who's about to defect.
Come
And
on.
so, I mean, no one else has the data set to be able to train the models to be able to identify the defections. And we can push that into your
CDP.
CRM, and your CDP. So on the CDP, it can fire off a map or some sort of marketing campaign, and within your CRM, it can create a task or an activity for your general manager or your sales leader to
To
follow up
reach
with
out.
those high priority leads who
Come
we know
on, I
are worth
love
a
it.
lot, but are likely to defect.
Love it. I love it. Well, this is why I wanted to have you come down to DMSC, because I see a trend. I see that dealers were wondering, do I need a CDP? And more companies like yourself who have unique data sources could never get traction because dealers didn't have a management platform for their own first party data. Now that
Right.
they are starting to get involved in this, I want to encourage the technology companies, partner with Urban Science to get this data into, the ecosystem, so that dealers who are hiring you as a technology platform can be advised. It's like, not only can we help you reduce waste and unify data, but we can also bring in third-party signals to move people into different audiences, to trigger a BDC outreach call. This is really going to be an exciting conference, because we're going to be talking about the things that matter most, the dealer's first party data and how to do more with it. Eric, when you think of all the things that we talked about today, what did we miss? What's one thing you want to communicate to dealers that you believe is an important thing to focus on in this cycle of the automotive retail world?
Yeah. So we talked about CRM data. We talked about sales/DMS data, bringing those two things together to identify defection, improve processes, improve marketing, improve the intelligence of the machines and the maps and the CDPs. We didn't talk about website data yet, though. And
Come
one of
on.
the things that emerged from DAB was, hey, we need to tie online activities to offline events through a pixel with identity resolution to be able to provide that same type of insight that we are in the CRM of what sources, what salespeople, what models are defecting. We need to do the same thing on the website. So
Come
our
on.
DAB has encouraged us to start looking into that as well. And I'm
Great.
excited to think that we can provide that same type of intelligence to which VDPs defect most, which sources of website traffic defects most, which shopping tools are most effective or ineffective as it relates to people hitting and then defecting to another store.
Love it. Love it. Well, this is exactly the type of partnerships I believe that dealers are looking for. Who's thinking out for my business? Who is raising their hand to integrate or provide data sources to help me elevate the customer experience? Eric, I want to thank Urban Science for investing in dealer education by being one of the sponsors at DMSC this year in Austin, June 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. I mean, the agenda is just right on point on the newest technologies and strategies to help dealers really move the needle. And I don't say that casually, but we're going to be talking about identity resolution, as you just mentioned, data hygiene, CDPs. We're going to be talking about marketing automation and suppression, which is rarely talked about. We're going to be talking about AI in the sales process and the service drive. And well, all the things that dealers need to know, because the cheese has moved. Dealers who are doing first-party data management may be pushed along from the cookie eroding, but more importantly, dealer groups want to improve the customer experience. They need to be as efficient as possible. And now that they have a place called a CDP to bring in high quality data, do something with it across their entire enterprise, this is a change. Eric, what are you looking forward to most as you meet with dealers down in Austin?
We got, as I mentioned earlier, we got great feedback from our DAB dealers just last week. And already we're busy updating our product roadmaps to talk about not only what's current, but certainly what's next, not only this year, but next. I'm looking forward to continuing to revise that, right? This is iterative. It's not just a one-time conversation with our DAV dealers.
That's right.
Who's going to MRC? It's the progressive dealers. It's the innovative dealers. It's
Yep.
the dealers who want to make an impact on the industry. I want to continue to road test these ideas, refine our thoughts so that when we bring these products to market, they deliver everything that the dealers are asking for.
Right. Well, that's all I could ask for, because I want vendor partners in the room that are listening, adjusting, innovating, and adapting to a changing marketing and customer service environment. If this is the first time you're listening to one of our podcasts, you should know that this is in a series called Road to DMSC. You can go to digitalmarketingstrategies.org, the website, which has the agenda, hotels, but also has all the podcasts of the speakers and leaders and sponsors who are going to be talking about what they're doing to help improve automotive retailing at the show. And then, of course, there are hundreds of interviews with automotive leaders, innovators, and disruptors on my podcast. So just search for the Brian Pash Podcast on your favorite podcast channel. I want to remind everyone that June 2nd, 3rd, and 4th is coming up very quickly. And, well, get your hotel booked. Get your plane tickets booked. It's going to be a great, great event with the top leaders of automotive technology companies. Eric, once again, thanks for being on podcast. I'm excited for you because you're selling no-brainer products that are priced right for the marketplace. More importantly, fill the gaps. This is the key. Fill the gaps that dealers can't do themselves. And that is a great value proposition. So for all the dealers who are listening and can't make it out to DMSC, don't forget we have the Modern Retailing Conference in November in Palm Beach. So if you can't make it out to Texas, well, maybe I'll see you in November. Otherwise, I'll see you in Austin, Texas on June 2nd. And the team at Urban Science will be there to show you their latest products to help you sell more cars in a digital age. Thanks for listening in.